Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Excel Snippet, uh, YouTube channel for Excel Learning. And this is an Excel Beginner Series 1.0 video number 12. This is Vinod representing iSelf Academy. And in the previous video, we saw how to work with 16 different formulas. Now I am adding 17 more. These 17 formulas are coming from three different categories. One is from text, and another one is from statistics, another one is from math and trigonometry. Major set of formulas are going to come from math and trigonometry today, and we are going to see few of text functionalities and few of statistical functions. So let's see how to work on this point. So I'm going to add a brand new sheet for us. The first function that I'm about to add right now is a text function. So I'm trying to add a text function here. So I think that I've used the wrong keyboard shortcut. And I'm adding a brand new sheet. And I'm going to name them as text functions. Or I can call this as labeling functions too. Whenever we work with Excel, we will be dealing with headers. Without a header, we don't do anything in Excel. So if you do so, probably you may not be able to remember what you have done in that list. So to make it better, so I'm going to start with a labeling here. So if you are dealing with a weird labeling component, then how do you deal with that? So that's what we are about to see right now. Generally, we don't have such a data in our list nowadays. Nowadays, it's improved. Earlier, we used to have a lot of data where we have to type. The typographic error will be more. I'm talking about 10, 15 years back. And today, the data are a little better compared to the data that we got 10, 15 years back. So if you get such a data here, so I may not be able to present them as an Excel sheet here. So the data has to look a little proper. So this is where my first three functionality that is going to come into play. Three functions that I'm going to use to convert these text into one dimension. That's called proper, upper, and lower. So these are the formulas that I use to convert these data. Again, I have to go back to our basics again. So if I want to populate any data on a columnar basis, I'll use Control D as a keyboard shortcut. If it is a row basis, I'm going to use Control R. And if I want both of them, then I use Control Enter. But again, I have to do that in an edit mode. This is the basics that we need to remember when we are working with the data. So as you work a lot in Excel, so probably you get used to the situation better and your mind works properly. Initially, you will feel it will be a little harder for you to undergo these components because you're brand new to it. So as you go through it, probably after the next video, probably you will feel these logics are simple for you and you can work on with it with ease. Now I'm going to start with the first function called proper. Remember, this is not a documentation, so we are not using a sentence casing in here. If you are going for a word, or if you are using a word application, that's where the data come into play, where you can create a text function with a sentence casing in it, then all uppercase, all lowercase, and then you can make the jumbled one that is toggle between, and then you can make each and every word first letter as capital. So the function that is used in Word as each and every word's first letter as capital is the proper function in Excel. When I try to add the proper function right now, so now all my first letters of these words will become capital, the rest of them will become smaller. And if it is a two word, then the second word's first letter will become capital, the rest of them will become smaller. Let's see, I'll show you how to go forward. So I'm going to just type P-R-O-P, then you get the proper, and you can see that the formula says what it's going to do. Converts the text string. If you want to see it better, tab it and Control A. You can see the logics of it. Converts the text So proper case, the first letter of each word to the uppercases and all the other letters to the lower one. So this is how the data was going to work for me. So I'm going to press the first button and give an enter. Then I'm going to populate this in a row. I'm going to give Control R. You can see my first letter of each word has become capital. The rest of them are small. If I add a space in between my serial number, then the N will also become capital for me because it is considering that as second word. So each and every word's first letter will become capital. Now I want to use it using a control enter. So what I do is I just first select the data where my answer has to be filled in. Then I will add the formula. So I'm going to say equals upper tab, go to the top, and now I want to populate this answer by using the keyboard shortcut control enter, and that's going to give you the answer. And now I want to adjust the screen, so I'm going to use the column auto fit option here. Say Alt OCA, that's the keyboard shortcut for 2003 version. And if you're using some other version, then you can use Alt H and then OI. That's the formula to expand it. So the keyboard shortcut that if you're using 2003 or below, I'll say Alt OCA because it's a menu rebundant document. If it is after 2003, you can still use this same shortcut. But if you feel that you want to use some other shortcut, then you can definitely use this Alt HOI. It's going to give you the same logic for us. The last function that I'm going to deal in the text functionality is the lower. I'm going to keep all my data as lowercase. Select the first one, and then I've done it for only one cell. I'm going to populate that for all of them. Then I'm going to use Control R to populate it. So this is my lower function that I have here. This is 3 text functions out of our 17 functions that I've added now. So now I'm going to jump to the next topic called math and trigonometry. So here I'm going to just show you a set of formulas. Let me add another sheet. So Shift F11. That's a new sheet for me, and then I'm going to call this as numbering formula. So drag it to the last sheet, and now I'm going to just make it a little bigger. So what are the functions that I've used when I entered a data, when I tried to create a template in our previous videos? So I'm using the same formula now, so I'm going to add a number here. If I'm using 2019 version or Office 365 version after March 2020, I'm using the formula called rand array, and I need maybe 15 rows and 1 column with some numbers in it, and I don't need a, let's go for an integer. Automatically populates the list. So select all of them, copy, paste special value so that the value will not change. Now I'm going to add a divider to it. I'm going to select the whole column until my number is required. So I'm going to say add a 3 to it. Type the first cell 3 and then give Control Enter to populate. And now I need a result. I'm going to select all of them now from the top to bottom. Then I'm going to just say equals. I'm going to do a normal math functionality. I'm going to divide the numbers in here and give a Control Enter to populate. When I do so, the system shows an answer to the best possible way or the nearest accuracy possible. But again, in a display component like I had earlier, so the text functionalities which has a weird texting structure, so I just converted that into a one-dimensional data. Likewise, I'm about to do that in a number right now. So when I want to add or when I want to do something in the number, so I need to do the following point. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to add 3 different formulas. And if you want, I can add the final one also. So let me show you how this formula is going to work for us. In here, if I want the decimal portion and I wish to have no decimals here, so I'm going to say I don't need decimal numbers here, and then what happens to it. So when I say I don't need a decimal portion, or if my decimal values are greater than or equal to 59 paisa, then if I don't need any decimal portion after that, my value jumps to the next 1 rupee or the previous 1 rupee. So this is what the round function does for us. When I work with a round function for the first time, like I saw earlier in the date and time function, I saw a lot of syntax. In some, I had only one syntax. Sometimes I didn't even have a syntax. In some cases, I have 3, 4, and lots more. Here in a round functionality, I'll be having 2 syntax. So I have to fill both of them. So I'm going to say equals round and give a tab and control A. Now you can see the function argument shows both the syntax as bold. So that means it's important and I have to fill both of them. So now I'm going to just choose the number that is there in the list here. Then I'm going to tab it down and give an OK. Immediately it shouts at me, says that you cannot do that. But when I feed the formula, I can use it betterly than using a control A here. I'm going to just select the first number, give a comma here, and when I give an enter, the system is not going to shout at me and it's going to just accept my invitation and it's going to give me the answer that I'm looking forward for. Enter. Now it gives you the answer as 17 because my decimal portion value doesn't cross 59 paisa. Remember, if you're working in a round functionality, even 49 paisa will not go to the next 1 rupee. It will only go to the previous 1 rupee. It will minus the 49 paisa and goes to the previous rupee. So now in the result column, I had 17 rupees 33 paisa or 33.333 and odd, and it is rounded to 17 rupees, not 17.5 or 18. If I do that for the next cell, then it's going to give you 25 because the values are jumped. And wherever we don't have a decimal portion, it is going to remain in the same number. Wherever I have a value more than that or more than 59 paisa, it's going to switch the next 1 rupee. So instead of using a control A option, I might use this as a logic. The same way I'm going to use the functions here. Again, the logic remains here. In here, the values will, most of them will go up, but wherever we don't have a decimal portion, it retains in the same value itself. So that's why I say the previous rupee 1 is also going to work here. The next function is called the round up function. So when I deal with the round up function, I have to be very careful because every naya paisa that I have here will all be converted to the next rupee, even if it is 0.01 cent or paisa. So let's do it. I'm going to just say round up. Select the number. I'm giving a comma and give an enter. Now you can see that the number jumped to the next value. You can see that wherever I had non-numerical or non-decimal numbers, those numbers remains same. The rest of the number are jumping 1 number up compared to the previous cell. If I'm doing rounding down, again, this is going to be one-sided. Again, it's not going to take the value to anywhere upwards. It's always take the value to the downward part. So I'm going to just say equals round down, select it, comma, and enter. You can see that the numbers are all rounded to the previous numbers. There is no decimals is there. In a simple terminology, I can say like that. It cuts the decimal portion and throws out of the list. And that's what the next function is also going to do. What about the answer that I got in round down? The same answer I will be getting even in my trunk formula. But the trunk formula is a little special. The trunk formula that we are about to work right now, the trunk formula that we are working at the moment will not ask you a question. So it's going to give you an answer and it's going to say that you don't need to punch the last part. In the previous 3 formulas, when I use the function argument, I may not be able to accomplish what I'm looking forward for. I have to fill the second part. Without that, it doesn't allow me to go to the next line. The trunk function is a little different. So when I go to the trunk function and give a control A, you can see that I have the number coming up in a bold context, and you can see that the number of it is not bold. If you closely watch in a normal formula, it's going to give you a box bracket. When I get a box bracket in a formula, that means the number of digits that I'm trying to add is not a must value. It is not a mandatory value that you have to definitely use it. So when I choose the number alone here, I don't want to even give a comma here. When I give an answer or when I give an enter, you get the answer. But your answer is going to be typically same what you got in your round down function. So now these are the 3 formulas or 4 formulas that I've used. I'm going to use the formula text to show you what formula that I've used. These are the 4 formulas that I've used. The first 3 formulas, comma is must, and the last formula, I didn't even bother about it. I got what I wanted. This is how we work with round, round up, round down, and trunk. Now I'm about to improvise this, and to improvise this, what I've did in the previous 3 or 4 formulas is we raised a number by 1 number up or 1 number down. That is what the result came into existence. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use the multiple logics here. I'm going to use mround, ceiling, and then floor. So ceiling and floor, by name itself, it says that ceiling will always go on topwards, floor will always come to downwards. It's like our round up and round down function, but mround stays like our round function. Wherever it is required to go to the next level, it will go to the next level. Wherever it has to come down, it will come down. That's what it's going to do for us. So now I'm going to choose a numerical values to jump to a particular multiples. So I'm going to choose a 5 here. I want all my answers to be divided by or multiplied by 5. So if I'm doing this, remember that the condition that I've given on top in here will change. Because my answers are going to be different right now. Because this is not anymore, this logic will be applied. So let's see. I want to find out this. So for a rupee, the half the value is 59 paisa. When I say 5 rupee, the half the value will be 2.5 rupees or $2.5 or $2.50. You name it in whatever way you want it to be. So I'm going to just create this as a formula. So I'm going to just say greater than or equals in a double quotes. And then I'm going to perform a function here. So I'm going to add an AND symbol before. This is called ampersand. And I'm going to do a formula below. So I'm going to bring down the formula and divide that by 2. So now I'm going to just populate this to out the right. So now we can do it. If I change this number, my half the way value will be automatically converted on top. For that reason, I try to make this as a point. So that's the half of a mark for me to create my decimal portions. So I have to touch that mark to achieve what I want. So let me make our screen disappear. So I'm going to just use these lines in here. So let me just cut this and paste it to the next column so that I can retain the headers. And I'm going to hide all of them in here. So I can just select all these lists and I can go back to my data and I can group it. Then when I click this, so now it's hidden so I can see the data clearly. The grouping part allows us to do things better. I'm not hiding anything completely, so I'm just momentarily grouping it so that I can fall back to it and see it again. If I don't want, I can remove the grouping. At the moment, I'm just closing it because I want to use the results better. So now I'm going to use the mround functionality. So I'm going to say equals mround, and I'm going to select the number here. Here I cannot give commas and other stuff. I have to select the second part of it. So I'm going to use the multiples in here. So I'm going to just change this completely. So I've selected this. You can manually type even in this point, but it will be a hard-coded formula. I don't want that. So I'm just choosing the top cell. Then I'm going to press F4 once, It's giving you an absolute cell reference. When I give an enter, it's going to give you an answer relevant to it. So now I'm selecting everything. Now we can see wherever it has to go up. My value was earlier was 17.32. In my round functionality, it has only reduced 33 paisa. Wherein when I try to do that in an M round function, it hasn't crossed the condition that I've mentioned on top. So my decimal portion has to be crossing that half of a mark, but I got, unfortunately, the 17.33 didn't do that. It has to be 17.5 at least. If that doesn't cross that level, then the valuation is going to change to like this. If this value is not changing, then the entire component is going to change for us. So now the valuation has come down wherever it is to come down. The value has gone up wherever it has to gone up. So now we can see that the M round chooses this 14 as 15. In the earlier list, we never had that. It all showed 14 because it stayed to the previous valuation. In here, it has gone to the next value because it is crossing the halfway mark of my decimal portion. So wherever it has to go up to the next point, it is going up. Wherever it has to come down, it will come down. It works like a normal rounding off in a multiplied rounding logic. Again, the ceiling and floor is going to do the round up and round functions point. So when I say ceiling, I have two different functionalities here. One belongs to 2010 version ceiling. The next one belongs to the next version, 2013 version, which gives you ceiling math. And I'm going to just select the ceiling point here and give a tab. Let me add that again one more time for you. Then I give a comma and I'm going to choose the top. And if you closely watch this now, when I hide the data, it's different. When I group the data, it is different. Now it moves like my arrows have only 3 columns before or 2 columns. It is not jumping anywhere. So if you closely watch, I'll type this again and I'll select that point. So I'm going to say ceiling, let's say ceiling math, whatever it is. When I choose this, you can see that it is moving like a normal point. I'm just selecting only 2 or 3 columns. But in between, I have hidden almost around 5-6 columns already. So you can see the smooth moving point is happening. And then I'm going to press F4 here and give a control enter. Populate this throughout. It's all going upwards. That is ceiling for us. And if you are doing this in the floor part, I'm trying to do a control enter formula here. So I'm going to say floor math. And I'm going to just select this, comma, choose the top one, absolute cell reference, control enter. So if I want to use this too in one more dimension, let me add one more column before it. So now I'm going to use this. I've used ceiling math. Let me use ceiling. So it's going to be one of the same. My answer is not going to change much. So the result is going to remain the same. Whether I use a 2010 version or the latest version formula, it's going to remain the same. So I don't have a 5 on top. Maybe this I'll add it. Let me add this formula to my right. So now when I populate this for the column, you can see the same answer populates whether I use ceiling or ceiling math or whatever it is. So I'm going to select the first formula, second formula, third formula, fourth formula, and finally I'm going to use the fifth formula. So I can use that. So this is floor math again. So let me add this here, come back to this point, remove the math out of the list. And you can see that it's going to give you the same answer again. Floor, tab, choose the number, comma, and choose the topper, and do it. The same answer. So I've added 2 more bonus functionalities here. I said 17, but we're going to see 19 here. So the first 3 functions talked about text, and The next 4 functions talked about single number conversions here. Next 5 formulas talked about multiple number conversions. So we see around 12 formulas already. So I don't need this grouping anymore. So I'm going to just come back to the group and we are just come back to this group again with the selection. And then let me just ungroup it. Okay, it's not allowing me to do that. So I think that I'm selecting more than one. Select this column. Okay, ungrouping is not happening. Okay, let me see whether I'm doing it correctly. Yeah, ungroup it, all the columns. Now the grouping is happening. I was keep clicking the group icon instead of ungroup icon, so that's why I couldn't duplicate what I want to get here. So now I got my other 5 formulas here. Perfect. Let's go to the next logic. In this, I'm going to combine formulas here. So I'm going to have math and statistical formulas both together. So this is generally we call this as basic functions in Excel or basic formulas in Excel. This is what we do. So as usual, I just merged it. Then I'm going to add a header here called numbers or sales figure. Then I'm going to just say, again, I'm using the easiest function of it. I'm not going to take too much of numbers here, so I'm going to just say 10 rows, 1 column, and start with 1500, 15,000. Need an integer here too. So it adds a number to me. Copy and paste special value. Now I'm going to use the combination of math and trigonometry and statistical formula. So let me just add some space in here. So I'm going to just make it a little interesting. Let's say sum, count, average, maximum value, minimum value, count A, count blank. These are the formulas that we are about to see. For sum, we have a keyboard shortcut called Alt equals. If you press that, you get the sum function automatically. See that it's giving you a list here. And I'm going to just choose the number from top to bottom, shift control down arrow once, again, and one more time, because I have a blank space in between. In a larger text, so we may not be able to find out that, but when I click this, it's going to jump only to the last line active. The blank cells will not be there. So if I want to select the whole list, then I have to hit the control and shift arrow down until I find the last active tag. When I give an enter, you get sum here. Then I want to count. I'm going to just hit the same way. Count, I don't have a keyboard shortcut. And if I want to find out an average, I can do it in 2 different ways. I can either use a formula here, or I can just say sum divided by count will give you the average. So these are the formulas as an output. I'm trying to feed the formulas as much as I can. I want to find out the maximum value out of the list. And then minimum value of the list. And then I'm going to find out the counter. So when I say count A, so how many lines that I'm trying to choose right now. So you can see that only the filled values is counted here, not all the values. If you closely watch, when I select this, at the bottom of my screen, you can see there is a count comes into place. There is a numerical count comes into place. It doesn't count the blank cells that is inside it available there in the list. But when I use the count blank function, I can find out how many blanks do I have here. Generally, when you are trying to figure out whether the data are perfect, whether the data are continuous or not, probably these formulas will be very useful. So actually, your entire line item right now is 14 actually, but the 3 of the data are not shown in our count A, so it is not showing our list. These are the functions that we use basically in Excel. If you're good at these formulas, probably you are ready to go for a decent job right now. So this is how we work with sum, count, average, max, min, count, ta, or count A, count blank. So almost all these data are belongs to statistical function. This is the one of the one-on-one-D math function. Hope you enjoyed this video. So this is Vinod signing off from Excel snippet, or video number 12. To subscribe it, share it to as many people as you can. So this will help many people to know a lot of new functionality. Earlier I told you we have 17 different functionality, but I've showed you around 3 and then another 9, 11 functionalities, and in here I have literally made around 7 functionalities. So we made 18 formulas in our list in this function. Hope you enjoyed this video. Do subscribe it and learn more. Keep updating. Thank you so much. This has been